was you can shorten the time a lot by stroking a check. And then you get in these right rooms. And at first it might be about the money to get in there, but eventually it becomes not about the money. And you do build relationships.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and I am here with Ron Nussbaum. He is the founder of Buildercoms. I'll let him tell you about that in a little bit. But first of all, thank you so much, Ron, for coming on and being generous with your time.
Absolutely, Chris. It is fantastic to be here. I look forward to our conversation.
So what is Buildercoms?
Yeah, so we're a communication platform built for the construction industry. We help builders and contractors communicate with their clients. Like say we work like air traffic control. We make sure everybody's talking to the right people, and then we organize it all per project. So no more chasing emails or chasing text messages.
And when you say this like construction, is this like I've got my GC and my electrical guy and my plumber and framer, like that's the type of stuff that we're talking about communication wise?
So you can utilize it that way. We were built really customer facing for your customer communication. I have guys that utilize it to run their job sites when they don't have an end customer. So they'll have all of their guys on there and utilize it that way. But what we're really built to do is bridge the gap of the communication between builders, contractors, and homeowners. Number one customer complaint is never the guys, it's never the work, it's always, I wish the communication would have been better. And after spending a decade in the industry, I understand it's not that we want to be bad communicators, it's just we don't have the right tools. So I went out and I built the tool so we could be the great communicators we were meant to be.
So what was the, like, I'm just thinking I've worked with painting companies, working with a construction company right now. Obviously, yes, I completely agree that customers want better communication, more timely and relevant communication. They don't just want to be blasted with like nonsense updates or whatever. But what is the, like, trying to think of the best way to go about this. Is it describe the tool using like other apps that people listening might be familiar with? Does that make sense? Like it's kind of like texting, however you can do what you can do in this app or whatever.
Yeah, so one of the best ways to put what really separates us and where the magic happens is our channels of communication. So think of all your messages that you have. What if we got those organized and we sent those to the right people at your company? So like that guy or lady that runs the schedule, when your customer reaches out, they're talking directly to that person. They're not talking to that sales rep or they're not talking to that foreman that's on the job site. Only if they have questions that pertain to that portion of the job. So we're making sure that everybody's on the same page, and instead of just having a bunch of messages and stuff that just goes out to homeowners, we're empowering your clients to reach out to you and ask questions that a lot of times what they would do is say, hey, I'll wait for the guys to get out here. That sales rep doesn't have the answer, but a lot of times that question can completely delay the job at that point in time because it might be something that's mission critical to that job that should have been asked weeks in advance so you could plan for that.
So is this like a Slack kind of?
You could say Slack, but built by a Marine that spent over a decade in construction. So a lot easier to use.
Okay. So yeah, that's awesome. I think that what you ran a construction company for how many years?
I ran operations in the construction company for just about 6 years.
And then jumped into this, right? Or
Yeah.
like started building it for that and then left and now do this full time?
Yeah, so I've done everything from digging the hose to running the company, scaled to over 25 million in annual revenue, and this is now what I do. Is I go
That's
out
awesome.
and I work in service of the construction industry. I really have gotten passionate about being on this side of it and actually helping other guys go out there and have the impact they're meant to have.
That's fantastic. So one of the things I know you had told me you were passionate about is actionable tenacity. Tell me, first of all, what is that? And both of them sound, I mean, I could give my guess, but I'm curious. I'm sure there's a succinct definition.
Yeah, so it's kind of a coin phrase or a phrase that I just kind of coined when I was asked, like, what do you pin your success on? How do you describe how you got to where you're at today? And everybody says there's a lot of action. You just got to take action. You got to take action. You got to take action. But action without tenacity isn't going to get you anywhere. But tenacity without action isn't going to get you anywhere. And I'm a grinder. I got a lot of grit, and that rang a bell. When I put those two words together, I was like, that's what it is. Is I've been able to take the action, but at the same time I've had the tenacity to see it through and get to where we were headed. I think without those two things working in conjunction, failure can occur. Like, you can't just have all action and you can't just have all tenacity to actually get to an end result that you're headed towards.
Mm. Well, I'm just looking up the definition of tenacity. The quality or fact of continuing to exist, or the quality or fact of being very determined, the quality or fact of being able to grip something firmly. So again, I'm trying to make this or relate this in my mind. So you need to have that quality of being very determined and then take action again and again and again in that determination of the goal or thing you're pursuing.
Yes, absolutely. You just can't have the determination to just see anything through, because you can do that on the couch. Like, I can have tenacity to ride it out on my couch. That doesn't involve any action to actually get to where that end goal is. I think we see so many times where people are sitting by and they're watching stuff pass them by, and they're like, I got the tenacity, I'm hanging in there, but they're not taking any of the action that it takes to get there. But if you're just out taking action and you don't have any of the tenacity, any of that, just grind it and you're going to stay there and get that stuff done, the action can go without getting anything accomplished. You really got to bring it together in order to get to that end result.
Yeah. So how do you, or in the past or now, if you're giving someone advice on finding what it is to have the determination and grit for, how are you determining, or what would you advise me on, like, what's the thing that I need to be tenacious about? And this is going to be different for every person, but I'm saying, how do I determine what that is for me?
Well, what's your vision? Where are you headed? What's the end outcome that you're wanting to create? Because you can't go anywhere without having an understanding of where you're going. And it all starts with the vision. And once you understand that, you can go after it. Because if your goal, let's say one of my goals is to live on the water, or live on the East Coast here on the water where I'm at in North Carolina now. I used to live on a lake. We decided we wanted to go live by the ocean and live the ocean life. I moved to North Carolina. I got within proximity of that. So now every day I go walk down the streets where one day I will eventually have a house. So I understand the vision. I took an action. I have the tenacity to not lose sight of that. I go out there and I walk the roads. I understand now we don't want to be on the ocean because we want to have a boat. We want to be over on the Sound, on the intercoastal where we can have a boat. You start to understand this stuff, and it all is about having that action that got me here, and then the tenacity that I'm continuing to work towards that every day.
That's awesome. So I've got lots of things to bring up about that, but I'm curious, what do you do in your life to maintain high levels of actionable tenacity?
So I got this book 75 Hard right back here behind me. I'm a big 75 Hard guy. I'm a 10X guy. I just believe in, you have to be going after it, and high discipline will equal the results. Like, that's what will bring greatness.
Yep. And so I guess my other question is, like, what are you, is this like are you in the middle? Do you do like continuous 75 hard cycles? I did 75 hard I I always tell people that I did it for real, but it took me about 120 days, I think, to do 75 hard because I forgot to take a picture. Or, one of the things is like, oh, I'm doing this legit. And so I restarted the clock and did it again. But I also feel like there's a part of me that didn't want to stop because I was like sabotaging myself because I wanted to have that excuse of why I was still pushing myself because I'm trying to finish this challenge. But anyway, so that's good. Like, yes, you can do that. That creates willpower and determination and grit. But do you have like you said, proximity? Are you intentional about like being in groups of people, like mastermind, or what do you surround yourself with in order to like? What are realistic things that someone could do if you're like, I want to have actionable tenacity, but I work out at the gym, but what else could I physically change about my existence to help that become a more natural occurring thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So yeah, I did 75 hard. I did the live hard, so the year deal with all the phases, and then I did 75 hard again. The second time was a lot harder than the first time when you have nothing to prove. And now I just try to regiment it like it's my life. I think every day those core principles you should try to work into your life every day, and that's where I'm focused on that. And then with groups and masterminds, it's absolutely important to be getting into the right rooms, being around the right people. And you need to understand who are those right people. Like, I'm very selective at this point in time in my life who I let get close and get around me. And it's about not necessarily benefiting each other, but do we play off of each other's strengths? Like, is there a reason why we should be running as lions through life together? Like, are we able to watch each other's back and pick that up? So I'm a part of a couple different groups, some masterminds. I think that stuff's very important, and that's where you start to figure out where do you fit. And I'm a firm believer you should never be the biggest dog in the room, but you shouldn't be the smallest dog. You should be in a position to be reaching up and then pulling somebody up at the same time. So your circle should also be that. So those people that are on your inner circle should be people that are helping pour you along, that are pouring into you, and then people that you're pouring along with you. And I think the hardest part of it all for me is we can really be just givers and be out there. And when you're taking all this action and you're getting stuff done, you can be the one that is constantly pouring into everybody else. But we have to realize we do have to have people in our life that we can pour into, and that can pour, not that they can pour into us, that we can decompress to, and whoever that is, whether it's a significant other, a spouse, or really good friend. I mean, people have therapists for this. Like, that's, you have to have a way to also be able to decompress.
So, at what point did these mastermind groups? Because I guess I have this leading question, so I'll start with my statement. For me, because I agree with everything that you're saying. I should clarify that. But for me, I went through whatever that would be, the first 29 years, 28 years of my life. And I had coaches for sports when I was in high school and college. But then after that, I went to a CrossFit gym. So technically I had a coach there. But it wasn't until I think it was about 3 years ago that I invested in coaching. It was a group coaching group with 10 other guys. And there was all different industries and stuff. But that, I would say, was a key, like, pivotal trajectory change, because it was like this container of just carving out an hour and a half of my time to come to a group and say, hey, this is what's on my mind. This is what I'm going to complete. And they're like, when are you going to do that by? I'm like, I'm going to get this done by next week. Come back the next week. Sometimes the night before, I'm like, oh, crap, I didn't do the thing I was going to do. I'm going to do it. So I'm stay up late, finish it, so I can say to the group, I did this. Something that's very simple, but that led to, some relationships of other people that were, I love the analogy you used of lions going through life together, like, instead of just kind of being whatever animal you are in the zoo, just kind of anywhere, like you can have like-minded individuals that are aggressively going through life pursuing stuff. So I love that. But I guess for me, I would say the action of investing in yourself and putting money on the line to say, I'm going to spend money to carve out time in my calendar to get better at XYZ. I think that it's people that have never tried it. It's hard to explain to them or for them to feel the impact that that can have. So my question now, because that was the context of where my head's at, is were you like at what point did you start joining these masterminds, and at what point in the building of Buildercoms were you like, or did that happen first and then Buildercoms came out of that? Does that make sense?
No, no, absolutely, that made sense. So, no, I mean, I started down this journey. I'm a lifelong learner. And the one thing up until a couple years ago I had never really crossed the line on was just stroking a check. Like to get in these rooms, I always thought, I can have enough actionable tenacity to get in these rooms. And eventually you do. I mean, it took me over a decade, and I got in a room with Grant Cardone at the 10X incubator, not because I paid to be there, because I was invited there because we were partnering. So you can get there, but what I realized was you can shorten the time a lot by stroking a check. And then you get in these right rooms. And at first it might be about the money to get in there, but eventually it becomes not about the money. And you do build relationships. Here are one of the most powerful things about, let's talk about going to events and writing checks to get in places, is I went to Jersey to this men's retreat and wrote the check. Cost me a few $1,000s by the time I got up there. Went to the one-day event, stayed at a hotel, did all of this stuff, and I met a dude that lives 25 minutes from me. That is an animal, an amazing person, and now we spend a couple hours every week together. We're going to do a podcast together. But that relationship would have never happened if I would have just been sitting here going, oh, that's too much money. I don't want to make that investment. I don't think that's going to pay off. I would just be sitting here and our lives would be going on. Two guys that completely align. We're the Lions. We're out there running. We would have probably never met. Living 30 minutes from each other. Both of us go. Well, he flew his plane there, but I drove 9 hours. He flew there. But we go that far to meet each other and then come back here and form this relationship. To me, that is worth 1,000 times what I spent to go to that event. And that's why you just can't be afraid of it.
Afraid of it being
stroking the check.
Yeah. Finding that room, that environment, and saying, I'm going to put my money down on this. And are you saying that it's the relationships is big?
I think that, yeah, 100%. It's all about the relationships. It lowers the timeline because you get in there and everything can happen a lot faster. The right rooms lead to the right thoughts. You think about stuff differently and you learn faster.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. So what other, where do you want to take this? So you got Buildercoms, the Actionable Tenacity. What other advice do you have, or what have you learned in building? Because you're still Buildercoms, you still own this. You're growing this. What's the end goal for that? What's on the horizon for that? What else do you have going on that you're tackling?
Yeah, so we're just going to continue to grow it. And then my goal is to help 5 million contractors and builders with their communication. And the end goal is to eventually have an exit. That's where we're headed with this. That's why I started building it with the purpose in mind that eventually this would get to the point where somebody would come along and want to write us a check that we're probably not going to say no to.
And so how long ago 6 years ago did you say you started Buildercoms?
No. Buildercoms, we went live in February of this year. I worked on it for the last year of actually getting it all built. So I'm a non-technical tech founder, Marine Corps, 12 years in residential construction. Now I own a software company. It's kind of a real leap in thought process, but I'm a believer that as opportunity comes and you have an understanding on what can actually happen and how you can help people, and my heart was just poured this way.
Yeah. Do you I'm so like right now, like the for the what's the reasonable goal for Buildercoms? You've got uh you've been like live for 6 7 months. What are you like, what's your user count, like what are you measuring your success by right now, or this phase of the business?
So what I measure stuff by is typically where I just continue to fail, and not in a bad way. Like we have 193 contractors and builders on our platform. We're continuing to grow it. Guys are converting into paid users as well, and the goal is to just continue growing it and have a better understanding of the machine. So I've completely bootstrapped this. I've raised no money, and I think having an understanding of stuff, so some of the stuff that's wrong with tech, and if we want to go down that road, because I'm a non-Silicon Valley guy, I think people raise a bunch of money, they build products that suck, they look good on paper, and then it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's mediocre at everything. That's why we'll never be a CRM. We'll never be an Angie's List. Like, I just want to fix communication. I want to stay in that lane, and I want to be an add-on to everything. And my goal is just to understand the customer journey. Like right now is I want to learn what that customer journey is for everybody, so I can make that the best it possibly can be as we continue to bring on builders and contractors. Like I tell people now, like we do a completely free project. It's just get on there, tell me what you love, and tell me what you think sucks. Like that's the only way we're ever going to continue to grow this into the platform that I want it to be. So I ask for patience as well as just go out there and utilize it.
Yeah. What I'm curious, the for someone that has now built an app and you're non-technical, I think that's even more exciting because I've talked to a number of business owners or just people that are like, oh, we should make an app or we should make a software for this or whatever. What was your strategy, or how did you end up deciding, like, what would you advise someone on? When is the right time to go solve this problem? Or how do you know that it's a big enough problem worth solving that actually is going to have a good payout for you?
So you got to do some market research from either rolling out. It can be as easy as rolling out a landing page and putting together a wait list and pushing it out there and seeing what the response is. Does something happen? Or just you can go high. You can have market analysts surveys done. I know some people that's what they do is they'll go out there and they'll talk to 100, 200 people and see if something has traction. Like, is this something that people would pay for? I think figuring that out and then figuring out where it's at on the pain list. So like you might have a great idea, but it might be like number 52 on the list of 100 pain points somebody has, and are they going to pay for number 52 or 51? So having an understanding of that starts to bring some clarity there. And then just, no, there's a fly on me right there. And then just having an understanding of your industry. Like I'm very I get poured in different directions all the time. Like people want this to go over into other industries. Do I think it's applicable to stuff besides the residential construction industry? Absolutely. I think anybody that has a customer facing business could use Buildercoms to improve their communication with their customers. But I'm not going to go chase that because I'm going to stay in my lane over here where I understand the residential construction space.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for example, what I do is I implement technology and automation and system processes and whatnot specifically for painting companies. And it's kind of like an absurd, not only just painting companies, but I would say painting companies between like $4 and $10 million. That's like my sweet spot. But if you're a painting company between $4 and $10 million, I guarantee, I can save you so much time and money that it's like the most no-brainer investment ever. But it's so niche that it's like it's crazy to tell people. Like depending upon how big of a conversation I want to have, I'll say, "Oh, I work in tech. I do automation stuff." Like, "Oh yeah, cool." But that's like that's the simple answer. But it's because it's so niche, it seems like hilarious or weird to me to try and explain that to somebody. But you're in a similar boat, it sounds like, where you are literally tackling just communication just for residential home builders. And that is I mean, I don't, have you figured out like how many residential home builders are there and what the total addressable market is and stuff like that?
Yeah, so for residential construction, it's mainly contractors and builders is like our niche. And a funny kind of offshoot to that is like I originally built this for big companies, but our fastest growing demographic and who's signing up is contractors and builders within 5 years of starting their business. They understand communication's a problem. They want to fix it now, and they don't ever want to worry about it ever again. So I had to pivot my entire avatar of who I thought our ideal customer was within like the first 30 days of doing the wait list. Like we found this out in the wait list when all of a sudden everybody that was signing up and the people that were converting on our offer on the wait list, like get somebody's credit card information as well as soon as you can, because that validates something. So like we did a ridiculous offer, $97 for an entire year. If you signed up on our wait list, you had access to that, and the people that were taking advantage of that were like I call them up, I'd interview them. They're new contractors. They're like, I've been doing this for 3 years. I'm going to break $1 million. Communication, biggest pain in my ass. I want to fix it. So then we pivoted how we were marketing. But yeah, so with that being, to answer your question about total addressable market, is we figure if we can get 1 to 3% of our market in that niche area, that'll create a legacy wealth for my family.
That's awesome. I was going to say, I'm looking at the website is nutnest.com. Is that right?
Yeah, that's our former brand. We have rebranded from Nut Nest to Buildercoms.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So that Buildercoms, I'm looking at it here. I can see just kind of the screenshots, at least, that you have. And I love the idea that you said of trying to get people to pay for it in advance before there's anything. So $97 for the entire year. Were you driving like Google Ads to this prior to launching, or did you just go to conferences and say, "Hey, this is what I'm working on. Sign up if you're interested"? Like, how are you actually? I agree with this statement of getting people on the list, but how do you get people on the list? How do you get this in front of them?
So, I mean, I use my network. I spent over a decade in the industry. I just utilized that. Started doing podcast interviews and just started leveraging what I already had. I have yet to do a conference. Conferences, 2024 is my game plan to start doing conferences, but everything and all of our growth has literally come, you could say, from my Actionable tenacity of grinding it out, doing podcasts, taking interviews, going and speaking on stage places, doing webinars. I hang out in Facebook groups. I think Facebook groups are literally most underutilized resource for customers for anything anybody does, period. Whether you're selling technology or you're a painter that is looking for clients, Facebook groups are where our customers live, and I just live in there.
That's a great idea. And you just like what you're just joining like construction or home builder groups, whatever, just finding groups like that and then just throwing. Are you like prospecting or saying like, "Hey, if any of you are interested, I've got this. I'm trying to solve this thing." Like, what's the strategy once you're in the group?
It just depends on the group and what the group roles are. Typically, I'll get into like Oklahoma contractors or Oklahoma home build, wherever. Like they have these niche groups. I'm a member of almost 700 groups on Facebook. I say this, and then Facebook's probably going to take my account away. But what you can do is you just go in there, and most of the time, I can find people talking about communication problems. Like it's something that is just talked about. So I'll go in there and I'll jump in those chats. Hey, go check out what we're doing here. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. Or if rules allow for people to be able to post right in there, I'll just put, hey, I'm looking for 8 to 12 contractors and builders that want to try a new software out I built that would get all your communication, pictures, documents all in one place and organize it per project. And typically when I do that, in the right size group. So one thing I want to stress is like groups that have 100,000 people in them, 50, 60, like they're not the right size group. One of the reasons you want to be niche is you want to get in these groups that have like 1,500 to a couple thousand people, because you're going to get a lot better engagement is what I've found. And I'll throw that out there, and typically that post will blow up, and I'll spend a night onboarding people. I do it like, I don't know if you're familiar with Alignable at all. Alignable is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. I will make a post in the general contractors group there, and within a week, I'll have over 100 comments on it of people wanting to sign up. Now, it's more complicated to get people to work through it on Alignable than it is on Facebook, but like these groups are where our customers live. Whether you're looking for contractors or builders or you're looking for homeowners. Like I'm part of every group around where I live at here in North Carolina. You said you work with a lot of painters. If I was a painter, I would want to be in every one of these homeowner groups I'm in, because you know what people are talking about? Getting their house painted or having their cabinets painted. Like it's just the customers are right there. Like we can easily just go. It gives you an opportunity to say, "Hey, Ed, that's exactly what I do." You know, let me come out. And I think it's just really underutilized.
So you were pretty excited about Alignable. Enlighten me. The only experience I have with Alignable is that I was on some list or like a thing where it'd be like so and so wants to connect with you on Alignable, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" I never looked at it. I'm assuming just based on what you're saying, is it kind of like a LinkedIn sort of, or like a social media? Like what exactly is it?
It's more so. It's kind of a hard thing to answer because I don't know if I've quite figured it out. So it's more business related. So like when you go on there, my profile is like Buildercoms, but I'm Ron Nussbaum from Buildercoms. But like when I do stuff on there, it shows up as Buildercoms. So it's more business centric. It's my understanding of what they want to be long term is the business hub for business. So anything that you need to have done, whether it's have a website built or do this or get an LLC, like that's a hub. And then you have like your natural geographic areas. So like I'm in my area, but I'm still able to reach people nationwide. So they're doing locally and nationwide. And why you get that some is every time somebody signs up, they ask you, hey, do you want to invite everybody from your network to come join Alignable? And some people click yes to that, and then they message everybody in your contacts to bring them on there. It's interesting. Like I said, it's a little bit more complicated when it comes to like how to do stuff and like connect with people, and you know
But you're saying that you got clients from going to Alignable, and it's like you're put out the message, hey, I'm doing this thing. I need 8 to 10 businesses. And people are just like, I want to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. Interested. I want to see that. Let's get on a call. Like, in the last month, I've had over 100,000 views on my profile on there. And I can pretty much watch it when I make a post where it will go. Like typically if I make a post, it'll get over 20,000 views on it. So that's basically, I can break down the number. If I make a post, 20,000 views on it, typically just over 100 comments. And then, like I said, the messaging and stuff on there could be better, but I'm a paying user, so I can connect with as many people as they will allow me to connect with a month. Because you can't message unless you're connected with somebody. Like I can't just cold
Yeah, so it's like
outbound people
LinkedIn
on
in that
there.
way. Yeah, that makes
Yeah, but
sense.
LinkedIn, you can still cold outbound people. Like without us being connected, we can't trade information.
Got it. Yeah, that's super interesting. I love this hack for scaling this. I'm curious from a technology side. That seems like that is an enormous roadblock for many people to get into. Like, I have an idea, but I don't know anything about coding, so I guess I'm not going to do it. What was the like? Literally, who did you reach out to figure out how to build an app? And now you have an app, and you got a development team, I assume, and like talk to me about how do you go from not to like the one thing that I personally struggled with a lot. I'm curious if you had this was what is the like what language do I code this app in? Who do I talk to? How do I know that that person has my best interest and they understand like how coding languages have evolved and there's pros and cons to using different ones and like yeah, what was your process to determine how to do that?
So at first, a lot of no's. Because a lot of people looked at me as like, hey, that's a great idea, but you're probably not the guy to go do that. And I was like, that's BS. I am the guy. Like, what do you mean? And so I just kept going, and I got accepted into the 10X incubator, which was there was 23,000 companies that applied to be part of that, and I was one of less than 100 they moved forward with, and I'm one of less than a handful that actually brought a product to market. Which led me to meeting Jared Yellen from Project 10K, who I partnered with, and that's how I developed this. Like I went and found somebody that's really, really good at that. Like I was like, I understand this. Now I need a partner that can do that,
And
and I
who
need
so you
somebody that
had
can.
oh so you have a business partner who's managing the tech side?
Yeah, yeah, yep,
And
absolutely.
the 10x incubator, the who's the person you said you partnered with?
Jared Yellen is he's the founder of Project 10K. I met him because of the 10X incubator, and he became my partner, and it's been absolutely amazing because he has the non-technical background but has built out. So he's originally the founder of Synduit, and he built all of that out and scaled that company, and now he's founded Project 10K where he helps non-technical tech founders figure out how to validate their IDs and take them to market. So I got around the right people, literally, like people that could make up for my weaknesses.
And so did this Patrick guy, Patrick Yellen is his name? Or Jared, sorry. I was looking, I just pulled up Project 10K's website. So Jared, is he affiliated with Grant Cardone?
I mean, there's some of that there. Grant Cardone's an investor in his company at this point in time. Uh,
So then that's why I was just wondering like was he also launching a product or a business and then that's you guys were both like incubatees at this
no,
incubator?
no, no. He was part of the program. He was there to help fill, to have an understanding, is this stuff that you can actually take to market? Is it something that can be validated? Can we actually build this stuff? He brings that knowledge to that process.
That's awesome. And then are you still having to pay development fees for that or is that their team is doing that and they get a percentage of the company or the revenue or however that works?
Yeah, so there's a combination of that depending on what exactly you're doing. So I don't not 100% on if it's exactly the same for everybody, but yeah, there's uh, equity plus money depending on what has to happen to get the product to market.
Ah, awesome. That's, I mean, yeah, I think, how did you, I just think this is so fascinating that it's like you have Ron who pre 10X incubator was doing whatever you're doing, you know, and then you get in the room here, you meet Patrick or Jared. I don't know why I keep saying Patrick. You meet Jared, and then you are now in this total, you have a software, you've got a couple hundred people that have signed up, you're off and running. Like, how many years ago was it that you heard about the 10X incubator?
Uh, oh, it was just, yeah, when I originally signed. So I've been a big 10X guy for a long time. I originally read 10X Rule in 2011. So, and I read it in 2011 and told my wife one day I'd do a deal with Grant Cardone. Like, that's why I said it took me a decade to do that deal because I didn't write the checks to go down to Miami and make stuff happen even faster. Like I just grinded it out, and then eventually, when the 10X incubator came out, I knew that was the opportunity, and that was going to be the deal. And here we are now. It's all come to fruition, and we went from, I call it a haphazard PowerPoint presentation. Like this is what I was showing. Like I go show people, like this is what we need to build. How do we do this? Most people would say no. I showed it to them. They said you're the right guy. This is the right product in the right market. Let's go do this.
That's awesome. I think, yeah, this is, I had no idea about the 10X incubator thing, and it looks like he has, he's got some different, on his website for the 10X, there's the product idea, service idea, and tech idea. And if you click tech idea, it takes you to the pitch10k.com landing page. And
Yeah,
that's,
so
that's
they
Jared's company.
yep, and they mixed it up a little bit now to where they take other stuff. Like originally they were just taking like early stage software companies, and now they do all kinds of different stuff. And like the software goes through Project 10K, and then I don't know exactly where the rest of the stuff. I haven't had an ID that was a product or anything yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. So cool. Yeah, I think that I just the like you said, you heard about this, but it took you many years to write the check and get down and get in the room, and that's a fantastic way to shortcut and move quicker to things, you know? So last couple questions I have for you. Well, first I always end with, is there anything else that you came in thinking like, or based on what we were talking about, closing remarks, comments, things you want to share before we move to my wrap up questions?
I just think that if anybody out there is listening, like I'm just a guy from Akron, Ohio that was in the Marine Corps, spent over a decade in residential construction. Like if you have an ID, like just chase it down. Like don't be afraid to go get it. Like there's nothing that separates most people other than the inability to just chase their dreams and then take that actionable tenacity to go get it.
That's awesome. So books are I ask everybody this, 3 book recommendations. They can be related to this, unrelated, your favorite books. But I always ask, I like to know what people are reading and what they are inspired by.
Absolutely. So pretty cut and dry. 3 books everybody should read to change their life. 10X Roll, 75 Hard, Traction.
I've read all of those. They are all, I would second that.
And then you just have to take the action. What
Yeah,
they
you
say
can't
in
read
the
it
book.
and sit on on your ass and then wonder why nothing changed. That's awesome. I remember reading 10X back in, you said 2011. I don't think I stumbled across it until 2014 or 15. But have you read 10X is Easier Than 2X? Just came out maybe 4 months ago from Dan Sullivan.
No, I have not.
So I'm an Audible guy, so I listen to everything in Audible, but I would say take a look at that because it's just, yeah, I would say it is a fantastic framework to think about how you want to scale and grow. And my summary of the book is when you think about literally 10xing your, like, and they say to make it very tangible. So whether it's user count or revenue or whatever it is, the number doesn't matter on some level, like, because it's just a target. But at the same time, it does really matter because it helps our brains like process the scale of what we're talking about. So if you have 200 users right now, it's like, okay, your goal is to get to 2,000. And then once you get to 2,000, your goal is to get to 20,000. And when you're trying to solve the problem of get from 200 to 2,000, you're going to tackle that and think about solving that in a much different way than if you were like, I think we should grow 20% year over year, and you just do more of what you're doing. But in order to 10x yourself, you can't continue to do what you're doing most of the time, because there's so much waste that you have in your life that you got to clear out to streamline how do I get myself to that 10x version of the business or myself or whatever it is. So it's a book that is right in, I would say it is similar, but has very distinct like mindset shifts than the Grant Cardone book, but I like both of them.
Or take a look at it.
Yeah. Last question. Favorite movie?
Ooh. I mean, the first thing that jumps to mind is Braveheart, but I haven't seen that in a while. I think Top Gun's pretty good, the original one.
Ooh, Top Gun. I like that. And if people want to get in touch with you, Ron, how would you recommend that they do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. It's kind of hard to miss me. Ron Nussbaum, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, LinkedIn, anywhere. If you want to check out what we're doing, Buildercoms.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Ron. It was fun, and we will be seeing you around for sure.
Absolutely, man. It's been fantastic.
Thank you for your attention and listening to this episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. Your feedback and comments mean the world to me. If you liked what you heard, please take a second, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. If you've got suggestions for future episodes or just want to say hi, shoot me an email at chris@chriskiefer.com. Don't forget, I make it a point to include all the links to the books, movies, and resources mentioned on this episode in the show notes. You can see those directly below in the description or on my website, chriskiefer.com. Thanks so much, guys.